Hi, I'm DK and welcome to my channel. Today I will be continuing my nostalgic journey of telling you all my manga collection from when I was younger in middle school to kind of now. And so we will continue with the shoujo craze that happened in my high school year. And will it ever end? Because I still collect some shoujo manga to this day, so it's a never-ending journey for me. I wanted to talk more about my manga journey in high school and the reasons behind certain manga that I collected, reading it again, whether I would buy it now, what my thoughts are about the manga, and who I would recommend these series to. So let's start and continue with the nostalgia. So Crossroad is complete at 7 volumes, and I have all 1 through 7 of them. And the storyline is about Kajitsu, who's the female protagonist. Her grandmother has just passed away and she finds herself in a situation where she has nowhere to go. She's in a family that's unconventional. She was abandoned by her parents and she was taken in by her adopted mom, and then her adopted mom left her with her adopted mom's grandma. And so when she was younger, she was surrounded by siblings who were not blood related to her, but she really enjoyed it because they had a familial relationship with each other. And they did get separated when they were younger, and then they are now reunited again when they're older. So there's Kajitsu and Natsu, who's right here, or right here, and Taro, who is the older brother, and he's actually working already. He's sort of like the breadwinner in the family because he's the only adult. And that's their mom, Rumiko. I would say that he's more of the adult because she runs off a lot and doesn't do much to help them. And so they kind of really have to fend for themselves. I think what really intrigued me about this storyline was because it's an unconventional family. Kajitsu grew up in a harsher environment where even though she was taken care of by her grandma, she just always felt like she had to fend for herself because she had been abandoned by her parents, her real parents, and again abandoned by Rumiko too, who had taken her in. And so just this sense of like distrust towards adults and not being sure of whether they would be a constant in her life made her become who she was, which was like a strong-willed protagonist who just wants to do things on her own, and being reunited again with her siblings from her past kind of made her realize that she should have appreciated her life more and appreciate the people that are around her. And so I think what else really drew me as I continued to read this series was her character development and how she began to learn about herself as a person and what she wanted to do in the future and what she defined as a family. Because sometimes family doesn't have to be blood related, and you can tell from when you read this series. And then there's also the aspect again that because the two protagonists of the male, Natsu and Kajitsu, are the couple in this series, they end up living together with their older brother, Taro. And I think that also drew me into, there's just a mix of like so many like different aspects into this story. So there was like student-teacher relationship between Kajitsu and Akai sensei, and you kind of figure out why she is in that relationship with him, which is really interesting. And then there's love triangles, just a little bit of a variety of things happening in this storyline that I think kept me interested and intrigued to continue collecting all of it. And reading it again, I actually did enjoy reading it. Because of all these little aspects that happened that created a little bit of angst and frustration, but really helped to move the story along to help Kajitsu and Natsu learn more about who they are and what they want to do with their life. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this for anyone who enjoys all those aspects that I just explained. An unconventional family, a little bit of romance, some little spice with student-teacher relationships, love triangles that weren't too like frustrating. So that is Crossroad. Alright, so the next series I'm going to be talking about is Wild Ones. This is a storyline that you'll be seeing as very in tune with what I was really into in the past, which is Sachie, whose mother passes away, and she finds out that her mother was from a Yakuza family and her mother had left because she decided to get married to someone that her father did not approve of. And when her mother passes away, Sachie is reunited with her grandfather again, and she finds herself in a household full of Yakuza. And along with that, she finds herself meeting Rakuto, who is a year older than her, and he ends up being her caretaker. And so this is again another live-in situation where they both live in the same household. Of course, he tries to maintain a boundary between them because technically he's working for her grandfather and taking care of her. This is again another story that kind of intrigued me because it's about, of course, it has romance aspects and it has a strong-willed protagonist who is trying to figure out what she wants to do with her life, but at the same time it's about a family who's sort of different from the usual family that you see and still coping with her mother passing away. I felt like I really enjoyed reading it again and just seeing how she developed as a character and how also Rakuto developed as a character. So I think that's what intrigued me about this story, was because when I read the storyline, I was like, ooh, I haven't read a Yakuza story yet. So might as well try that. And when it comes to Yakuza, it's a serious matter, of course, but this manga really focuses on a more lighthearted viewpoint and something that you shouldn't really take too seriously, just to help move the story along and bring a sort of uniqueness to the storyline that I really enjoyed, and just to show how families can differ and one shouldn't judge someone's background because of the family they are from. And so I would definitely recommend this for anyone who's interested in like a lighthearted read with some slow burn romance, a strong-willed protagonist who's trying to figure out who she is without her mother and trying to cope with this feeling of loneliness, but really having a really strange but wonderful family in her life that helps her to get through it and move on. And so you can see that I have 1 through 10 except volume 2. So it's complete at 10 volumes, and for some reason I'm pretty sure I bought volume 2, but I don't know where it disappeared to, unless I like disillusioned myself to think that I had volume 2 but I never did have it, unless like how I usually am, where I'm just like, well, might as well just keep reading the next volumes anyways, even though I'm missing like this volume right here. Maybe if I ever find volume 2 again, like on a discount or used, then I might do that just to complete this series, because I don't know where my volume 2 went or if I ever really bought it. And so that is Wild Ones. Dengeki Daisy. So this is also the same mangaka as Beastmaster, who I mentioned in a previous video, and I'm pretty sure what really attracted me to this manga was the author, because I really like her art style, and then the storyline was also really interesting to me. So the story is about Teru Kurebayashi, a high schooler whose brother passed away about a year ago. She's left on her own, no clue what happened to her parents, and relies on her friend's brother with the alias of Daisy. And the only means of contact that she has with Daisy is through a cell phone. So what happens is that when her brother passes away, Daisy becomes her source of comfort, someone that she sort of vents to and talks to about her everyday life, and helps her with her coping with her loneliness and her brother's death. And so he's been her support even though she's never met him. And so what happens and what jumpstarts the whole series is when Teru, who is bullied by the student council because her school is full of a lot of wealthy students, and she's there on a scholarship, and she's basically looked down on because she's poor. And so what happens is when she's getting bullied, she's saved by someone, and what happens is that she accidentally breaks a window from the school's window and basically runs out of there because her friend, who is also being bullied too, was like, you won't get caught. And she basically gets caught by this sort of like delinquent janitor by the name of Kurosaki, and who's right here. And so he makes her go through a lot of manual labor, so basically just making her do all of his work, saying that will help her to pay off the damage that she made to the school. And so her time in school begins to become more crazy as she becomes more involved with her classmates, especially the wealthy classmates who sort of go through some sort of shady business. She also begins to uncover who Daisy is, and it's really not a spoiler, I would say, that Daisy ends up being Kurosaki, because you basically find that out in the first chapter. And so she's still trying to cover Daisy is. She has a clue, but I don't know, maybe she doesn't want to push it because she doesn't want to break the relationship that she has with Kurosaki already. And then she begins to learn more about her brother's past because there's a lot of mystery behind it, and many characters that come into the storyline who knew her brother and what kind of like potential he had, because he was a genius engineer, and then being involved with his business because there are people who are looking for the information that he had worked on before he passed away. I really enjoyed reading this again. Teru is what I would consider more smart academically, but when it comes to real life situations, she can be a little dense at some common sense things, which is really interesting to me because of how she ended up being alone after her brother passed away. So you would think that she had to learn how to fend for herself, but I think it's probably because Daisy continued to remain in her life and be that source of comfort, that she found herself in a bubble still and didn't really reach out and learn how to be more of I would say like an adult. And I mean, she's still a teenager, she's still learning things, and going through all these experiences in the story does allow her to grow as a character. And that's what I really enjoy about these sorts of storyline, is when the main protagonists are having character growth and learning from their own experiences, even though she's sort of that, you'll see the characters I really enjoy is those that kind of meddle in things because they want to help out, the sense of wanting to help someone out and making sure that they that other person is cared for or something, and they're like flawed. Like I like characters who are not perfect. And also like the relationship between these two, even though there was an age gap, the age gap didn't bother me too much. I really enjoyed the relationship and the interactions with each other, and how it's like a slow burn romance. And you'll see that in a lot of my series that I like reading, is that I really like that slow burn romance, because I like how the relationship begins to develop slowly, and I don't know, the moments that they interact with each other become more precious to me because of like how slow it can be sometimes. But that's just me. And it is complete at 16 volumes. I only have volumes 1 through 10. I'm thinking that I probably didn't continue collecting it because I had gone on to college at the time, and when you're in college, you're too busy with other expenses, and so I did have a lull when it came to collecting manga in my college years. But if I could collect them all, I would, if I can find them again, and I would want to complete it and like once again reread through the whole thing again to see what happens. But yeah, so I would definitely recommend this for anyone who's interested in a sort of school life mystery with a dash of romance in it. Oh, look, they're so sweet, because it's really a good storyline that I enjoy reading and still enjoy to this day. So that's Dengeki Daisy. Vampire Knight. When I was in high school, I became really interested in like the supernatural, and I really still am, depending on what kind of like subgenre it is. But back then I was really into vampire stuff, like like Twilight, like Vampire Diaries. But yeah, so that's why I became really interested in Vampire Knight, and the storyline behind it was very interesting to me too. So it's about Yuki Cross, is right here. She lost her memories when she was younger, and she's saved by Kaname Kuran, a pure-blood vampire. And she is then fostered by the principal of the Cross Academy. And he definitely has some influence in both the vampire and human worlds. She joins the Cross Academy as a disciplinary committee member because there is something unique about Cross Academy, and that is that the school has a day class and a night class where humans attend during the day class and vampires attend during the night class. Of course, the humans don't know that the night class students are full of vampires. They still believe that it's a myth. And Yuki and Zero, who comes into her life about 4 years before this time, are both the only ones who know about vampires. And that's why they become disciplinary committee members, who sort of helps to maintain peace between both sides and making sure that any day class students aren't harmed by the night class students. And so yeah, so that's what intrigued me about this storyline. And just a little bit more context is that Zero is from a family of vampire hunters. So you can see why there can be a clash between these two, and Yuki has sort of a crush on Kaname, but at the same time you can see that she has some sort of feelings for Zero too, and she's not sure yet how she feels about him. And so what I also really liked about this manga is the art style. So Matsuri Hino was also a mangaka whose series I really enjoyed reading. And you'll see in my collection that I do collect some more of her series too. And I just find her, I don't know, I just really like her art style, the big eyes, the really handsome men, the bishonens, And so yeah, so that's why I became interested in this manga and why I kept collecting it. And I was so into Kaname, like, oh my goodness, just like the way he felt about Yuki and the way he treated her compared to everyone else, like she's the only special one for him. And like, I mean, I would still really be into him to this day too, just because of how he felt for her and how he treated her, even though, like, it's a little bit dark in a way, his feelings of possession, but I don't know, sometimes I have the hots for that, but I think what happened, and why, like, even though I enjoyed reading it again, why I feel a little bit indifferent about wanting to continue collecting it, is because I don't like how Yuki feels between Zero and Kaname. So this is sort of like a love triangle, which, I mean, it's kind of obvious when you read the series that it's going to be a love triangle. But her feelings for both of them were very, like, in the gray area, and she just couldn't decide between both of them. And so, I mean, like, just from what I've been reading with these, because I have volumes 1 through 7, because of her feelings like that, I guess I didn't like how even though I liked her personality, I just didn't like that aspect of her. But that's just me. That's just my opinion about why it deterred me from wanting to collect more. And maybe if, like, I could find the rest of the series, because it's done at 19 volumes, I mean, I would have a little bit more to collect there. But maybe if I find them in a good deal, I might collect all of them and read it again, and maybe my mind would change. They do also have a Vampire Knight Memories, which is continuing to be serialized right now. So I would recommend this for anyone who's into the supernatural, school life genre with some romance, action, a little bit of mystery, because Yuki doesn't know anything about her past, and she continues to uncover that as we move through the storyline. And if you really like hot guys, right? I mean, the artwork is really pretty. But yeah, so that is Vampire Knight. King of the Land. It's a 1-volume series, which is just an anthology of girls who are in love with someone, So they sort of have like an unrequited love that they wish would become requited. And what happens then is because they desire it so much, they meet this like random like shady person in an alley who's like, hey, you want your wish to come true? Well, take this lamp and, you know, like, maybe your wish will be granted. And they find out that there's sort of like a king in a lamp who can grant their wish. The reason why, you'll see he's right here. I kind of don't want to like open the book too much because so there are some scenes in here that are a little bit intimate, so I don't want to show it too much. The king of the lamp was punished and sealed into the lamp because he was trying to gather 1,000 of the most beautiful women in his country. And so now, in order to be free from this lamp, he has to grant the wishes of 1,000 girls. So this was a quick read because it's one volume and there's just multiple stories about some girls that he grants the wishes for. And you do realize that he's actually very considerate and has like good intentions for the girls too that he helps out, even though he may be a little bit, you know, perverted. I do still wonder, like reading this again, like did the king of the lamp ever become free? Because you don't know if it ever happens, even though he counts them in the series. But yeah, so I recommend this for those who may be interested in short stories about unrequited love that becomes requited. And the reason why I bought this series is because I like the mangaka who made some series that I enjoyed reading and the unrequited aspect of it. So yeah, so that is King of the Lamp.
Millenium Snow, another supernatural manga. This is a manga also created by Bisco Hattori, who is the same mangaka for, if you heard it before, maybe you have, is Ouran High School Host Club. So the reason why I bought this manga was because it is by Bisco Hattori and a supernatural genre, so I was interested in giving it a try. As you can see, I have volume 1 and there are 4 volumes in total, which is complete. Millenium Snow is about Chiyuki, who has a heart condition, and her time of passing is going to happen soon. And then she meets Toya, who is a vampire that doesn't want to drink human blood. Chiyuki is someone who doesn't want to die yet, whereas Toya is a vampire who doesn't want to be close to humans. It's because of his long life, he is afraid that he will be left behind, and because he is sensitive to that, he does not interact with humans at all and basically is sort of in his own world. And Chiyuki is someone who's learned to accept him. And so the story starts with both of them meeting at the hospital where Chiyuki is staying at. And really what happens in the first chapter is that Toya ends up giving a little bit of his blood to her because she had a heart, I'm assuming it's a heart attack. They didn't really specify when you read it. And so he saves her life, and by giving her his blood, her life is able to extend a little bit longer. And so she's viewed Toya as someone very precious to her now, and she wants to understand that, like as you see right here, is that that he's not alone. And yeah, so reading the first book again, I thought that it was really interesting. Would I collect it again? Maybe I would. It is an older manga. Maybe because there's only 4 volumes, if I can ever find them again. Although it's a little bit like lower on my to buy list, I would probably try it out. I would recommend this for anyone who's interested in a vampire story with like a slow burn romance and who enjoys like supernatural things happening. And yeah, so that is Millenium Snow. Ultimate Venus. The reason why I bought this series or started buying it was because I actually read a different series by Takako Shigematsu called Tenshi Janai, or I'm Not an Angel, and I really like that series, so I thought about trying out her other series, and this one kind of interested me because it's about Yuzu, who is the main female protagonist. Her mother passes away and she is left homeless. She then finds out that her mom comes from a wealthy background, and the reason why she left again was because her grandmother did not approve of her mom marrying her dad. Yuzu is forcibly taken into her grandmother's care to be the heiress, and so she is constantly taken care of by her grandma's personal assistant, and as she's trying to figure out what she wants to do because she's been forced into this situation. She doesn't know if she wants to stay or be independent on her own, although she's kind of stuck too at the same time. She also is at the mercy of family members who are after her grandmother's inheritance. And yeah, so I think I also bought this because of the storyline and because I really also enjoyed the artwork, because I think the artwork looks pretty nice too. But reading again, I felt meh about it. I went for the storyline because there's the strong-willed protagonist who's trying to survive in a world where she's on her own and has no one to rely on. And yeah, and so I probably will not be collecting more of this series. It was also discontinued in printing because the company went out of business. So it's been discontinued printing in the US, but it is complete at 9 volumes. So I would recommend this, even though it's not for me anymore, for anyone who's sort of interested in a strong-willed protagonist who goes from rags to riches, possibly falling in love with the personal assistant who is older, so there's an age gap between them, possible love triangle with someone else, as you can see here. And yeah, so that is Ultimate Venus. Fushigi, Yuugi, Genbu, Kaiden. Just looking at this manga again just brought me so much nostalgia because I actually started watching the Fushigi Yuugi anime when I was younger, and it was about a different priestess. It's the priestess of Suzuka, and this one is about the Genbu Kaiden priestess. So this is another isekai. So basically Takiko, who is up here, Takiko gets sucked into a book called The Universe of the Four Gods and finds out that she could possibly be the priestess of Genbu. The legend goes that when the country is on the brink of ruins, the priestess will appear from another world, and with her, 7 celestial warriors who bear the marks of stars will summon Genbu and be granted a wish. So Takiko goes on a mission to search for the celestial warriors to have her wish be granted by Genbu, and she also becomes more involved with the country Beijia, which she finds herself in, and Chudong, and the dangers of the power she and her celestial warriors hold, because they are feared by many for their powers. So when she ends up in this world, she finds out how much fear people have for her and her celestial warriors as she goes and searches for them and finds out a lot of their tragic past. So reading this again, like I said, brought a lot of nostalgia. I was actually a very big fan of Yu Watase too. I've read a lot of her works, and one of them was Fushigi Yuugi, and also like Sarah Celestial Warrior, Imadoki. There's a lot of that she's written that I really enjoy, and you'll see later too in my upcoming videos of Alice 19th. And yeah, so I was just a very big fan of her work when I was younger, because I watched the anime Fushigi Yuugi. When I found out that she was coming out with, or that the Genbu Kaiden version was coming out, because there's 4 priestesses, again, the 4 gods, right? And I watched the one with Suzuka already, and the Genbu one came out. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to buy it and check it out, because I love this sort of fantasy isekai world, and the guys are good looking. Like, yeah, I really like her artwork too. It's just very nice. I think the only thing that really made me hesitate when I decided to buy this was because if you watch the anime of Fushigi Yuugi, in that anime you kind of figured out what happened to the priestess of Genbu, and so I don't want to review any spoilers, but if you watch Fushigi Yuugi you would know what happens. But seriously, the feels that I got from reading this again, I was just like, oh my gosh, like there's the feelings that I got from reading again. But I think if I can, I would collect the rest of this manga, because reading this again, I really still enjoyed it. It would be on my lower priorities for collecting manga again. And if I, find like used ones or something, I would definitely grab it if it's at a good price. But it is complete at 12 volumes, so if you are someone who's interested in fantasy isekai that has romance, good artwork, a really good storyline in my opinion, and it's again a story of growth, character development, and yeah, so that is Fushigi Yuugi Genbu Kaiden. Captive Hearts. Again, another series by Matsuri Hino. I wanted to get a shot because it was by Matsuri Hino. This is her first work that came out in Japan. So Megumi Kuroishi's family has served the Kogami family for years. When the family disappears, Megumi and his father keeps up the household, awaiting their return. While Megumi hopes that they never return so his family can have their fortune. Then Suzuka Kogami, who's the female protagonist, the orphan daughter returns, and Megumi learns about the curse of the Kuroishi family, and that is they obey the Kogami family at their every whim. So basically he becomes a smitten sort of like butler in a way that wants to follow anything that that Megumi requests. Reading this again, I really enjoyed it. It was really funny, very lighthearted, and there is a question of that Suzuka ends up going through is like, does he really like me for me, or is it because of the curse? And so the storyline is more about them finding out ways for the curse to be broken and for her to sort of find out her feelings for him and also his own feelings for her that does not involve the curse. This is sort of a fast-paced storyline, so like I feel like they fall in love pretty fast with each other. Did enjoy this. If I would recommend this for anyone who sort of enjoys a lighthearted story about a curse that the protagonists are trying to break, and that there's romance between both of them, and the characters are pretty likable. I didn't find anything annoying about them. It could be sort of a meh manga for you, but I really enjoy it because of the comedic aspects of the romantic comedy aspects of it. And if I could buy it again, I may be tempted to because I enjoy the characters and it's so funny at sometimes too. It's complete at 5 volumes, so who knows, maybe if I get a chance to have the rest on my hands, I could try them out and buy it. But that is Captive Hearts. Alright, so another story by Matsuri Hino called Wanted. This is only a 1 volume storyline, so it's very short, so it's a very quick read. It's about Armeria, who's a songstress, and Luz, who is a noble. So Luz is kidnapped by the pirate skulls when they were younger, and so Armeria has made it her life mission to find him and save him. So when she is able to get on board the pirate skull's ship, she takes a chance and disguises herself as a man, but she gets found out right away, but she's able to stay on board as she tries to find Luz again. So I think another reason why I got this manga was because of the pirate genre, which interested me. I didn't see too many of those back then, or unless I just missed it, but for shoujo genre, I wanted to give it a try. But I enjoyed reading it. It was a fast read, entertaining. It's very short, so if you get your hands on it, I think you would just enjoy it for the light read and the slight romance between the both of them. I would have enjoyed a little bit more because I do enjoy both of the characters. But yeah, so that is Wanted. So the last series I'm going to be talking about is Mars, and the nostalgia again. So I actually watched the Taiwanese drama when I was younger, in high school, and found out that there was a manga on it, so I wanted to try because first I actually like the artwork on it. Like, it's kind of simple, but I don't know, some parts of the artwork is so pretty to me, and yeah, even now, like, it's an older style, but even now I still find it really pretty to look at and read. Mars is about the typical shy girl, Kara, and a popular but unruly / violent guy, Ray, who fall in love with each other as sort of like, I would say, like for Kira it's like a second sight because they're classmates. She really judged him by his outward personality, but when she gets to know him more through a sketch that she had made that sort of connects them to each other, she finds out that the outward appearance is not always what it seems. And so that's how they begin to fall in love with each other. If you read this series, you'll learn that they both have traumatic pasts that kind of frames why the personalities are this way, and the way that they grow and develop together and learn to support each other, I just really love. And reading this again, I was like, this is why I really like this manga, or the Taiwanese drama, and this manga. I don't know why I didn't continue to collect more, because reading it again, I was like, I should have just collected more of it. It is more on the drama side, so there's a lot of stuff that happens, like bullying, manipulation. There is suicide involved too. So those are just some like heads up that I would let you know if you are interested in reading this manga, because you know it's older but it's still very good. So I would definitely try to collect this series again. If I can find more of them. I would recommend this for anyone who's interested in, it kind of seems like the typical shoujo manga where the shy girl and the like outgoing popular guy falls in love, but there's really more deepness and darkness that's going on between both characters. And yeah, it was just so intriguing. The storyline, it just never gets boring for me. And so yeah, so that is Mars. So we've reached the end of the video as I talked about more shoujo manga that I collected in my high school years. Again, I don't know when my shoujo craze will ever end, and just reading these again, I can see why I really enjoy them, because they kind of grew up with me. You can see how I dived into various genres and even was attracted to series that were created by the same mangaka because I either enjoyed the art or the storylines they created. The next video will, of course, still be more shoujo manga because I have so many that I collected and am still collecting right now too. And so if you want to continue and join me on my nostalgic journey as I look at manga that I collected in the past, please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.